One night they're telling you things they never normally say. They're warm, they're open, and they seem fully present. You fall asleep feeling connected, and then the next day, it's different. They've gone a bit quiet. Their replies have gotten shorter. They feel distant somehow, and harder to read. So suddenly you're sitting with a feeling you don't want to admit out loud. Did I imagine all of that? If you've ever been pulled in like that, only to have someone create space the moment you relax, this is for you. Because what hurts is not just the distance, it's how safe it all felt before the shift happened. We're going to look at what's actually happening beneath this hot-cold behavior. And by the end, you'll understand the pattern they're stuck in, and the pattern you might be pulled into without even noticing. And there's a question for you at the end of this episode, one that will change what you tolerate from now on. People usually call this mixed signals, and psychologists might use words like avoidance, ambivalence, or fear of intimacy. But underneath all of those labels is something simpler. Someone wants closeness, until closeness feels emotionally real. And that moment, the moment when emotions land, is when everything changes. So let's look at the first of the three patterns. They love the build-up, but panic at the depth. There's a type of person who feels most alive at the beginning of connection. They like the late-night conversations. They like the flirting. And they like the soft unfolding that doesn't ask anything of them yet. Beginnings feel safe because beginnings don't require consistency. They don't require decisions, and they don't require emotional responsibility. In the beginning, they can be their best self. They show you the curious part of them, and they appear open. But when the connection deepens, when it stops being light and starts being real, something shifts internally. Not dramatically, and not all at once. It's really subtle. You feel a slight tightening in the way they speak to you, a small withdrawal, a growing distance they don't explain. For them, this closeness feels exposing, not because they don't like you, but because closeness mirrors back emotions they don't know how to handle. It asks them to stay present when their instinct is to retreat. They're not losing interest. They're losing control of their emotions. And here's where you get stuck. You didn't imagine the closeness. You just imagined the consistency. Now let's look at the second pattern. Your need for clarity collides with their fear of being needed. For you, naming your feelings is grounding. Asking where things are heading feels natural. Sharing what you want is part of how you build something that's safe for both people. But someone who struggles with intimacy hears those same things very differently. Your need for clarity feels like pressure. Your honesty feels like expectation. And your openness feels like a responsibility they're not sure they can hold. For some people, being needed feels threatening. They worry they'll lose themselves. They worry they'll disappoint you. Or they worry they'll have to explain emotions they don't really understand in themselves. So they take a step back. They go quiet. And they create space to calm the rising emotions inside of them. And you do what you've been taught to do in relationships. You try to make yourself easier to love. You start editing yourself. You start walking on eggshells. You tell yourself not to be too much. And you become careful with your needs. But shrinking yourself doesn't pull them closer. It just makes you disappear inside the relationship. And your need for clarity isn't pressure. It's information. And here's the truth. If clarity scares them, the relationship will most definitely drain you. This is the third pattern. The push and pull becomes the relationship. You start noticing a rhythm. They reach out when they feel emotionally safe. They withdraw when the feelings get heavy. You feel them slipping, and you move toward them. You feel them returning, and you relax again. It becomes a cycle. They retreat, so you pursue them. Then you decide to step back, so they pursue you. They feel safe creating distance. You feel safe closing the gap. And now the entire relationship is built around managing that gap. The instability becomes the bond. The tension becomes the connection. You start mistaking emotional turbulence for emotional depth, so you tell yourself, if they keep coming back, this must mean something. But coming back isn't commitment. It's relief from their own discomfort. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. You think you're holding on to them, but often, you're holding on to the version of them you met at the beginning. If someone keeps pulling you in and pushing you away, that imbalance isn't a passing stage. It's their pattern. And there's a layer in this dynamic that people rarely talk about. It's called the fantasy gap. When they pull away, you fill in the silence for them. You soften the truth with explanations that protect you from feeling rejected. You tell yourself, they're just stressed. They've been hurt. They need time. And maybe all of those things are really true, but notice what's happening underneath the story. They get to withdraw without consequence, and you do the emotional work to keep the connection alive. They use distance to feel safe. You use understanding to feel safe. And those two coping styles can't sustain each other. Here's the subtle trap this creates. The moments when they're warm are real. But the moments when they withdraw are real too. Both selves exist, and both selves are part of them. And it's the tension between those two selves that becomes the relationship. When you don't understand this, you cling to the warm version. The open version, the version who makes you feel easy to connect with. And you explain away the rest. But someone who is only consistent when they feel emotionally comfortable isn't showing you stability. They're showing you survival. There's a difference between someone who can't love you and someone who can't regulate their emotions around love. And that difference is why this hurts so much. You're not asking for intensity. You're asking for steadiness. And steadiness is something they lose the moment emotions rise. So, what do you do with all of this? Here's the question we promised at the beginning, the one that will change everything you tolerate. Do I feel emotionally steadier around this person? Or less like myself? If someone makes you more anxious than connected, more self-doubting than grounded, more careful than comfortable, you're not compatible. You're in survival mode, dressed up as connection. Someone can care about you and still struggle with closeness. Someone can enjoy you and still pull away when emotions get real. Someone can feel something honest and still not be able to hold you with consistency, and you can't keep trading your stability for their moments of comfort. You can't keep shrinking so they feel safe, and you can't keep calling it connection when it's really confusion. You deserve closeness that doesn't collapse when you show up fully. You deserve a pace that your nervous system can breathe inside of. You deserve someone whose presence isn't dependent on how overwhelmed they feel. You deserve steadiness, not intensity, that comes and goes. You've been watching The Soft Skills. Like and subscribe for more clarity, more calm, and more emotional truth.